Do you ever feel like you're sort of like living on a treadmill, constantly busy, always striving, but there's this nagging feeling that you're not quite hitting the mark?
Yeah, like there's this gap, right, between where you actually are and that life you kind of picture for yourself.
Exactly. Maybe you feel stuck or just overwhelmed by all the noise, and not just, emails and deadlines, but the chatter inside your own head.
That internal monologue, yeah. It's something so many of us grapple with. I mean, we apparently have something like 60,000 thoughts buzzing through our minds every single day.
60,000. Wow.
And here's the kicker. Some studies suggest that up to 80% of those can actually lean negative.
80%, that's huge.
It is. And get us a staggering 95% are often the exact same thoughts we had the day before.
95, so you're literally stuck in a loop. The same worries, the same doubts, day in, day out, like your inner critic is just on repeat.
Pretty much. It can feel like your mind is this runaway train and you're just stuck in the back,
Yeah.
Feeling trapped by all that negativity. Have you ever felt that? That feeling of just not being able to grab the controls?
Oh, definitely. It feels like this huge force working against you sometimes.
It really can. But the source material we looked into for this deep dive offers, a different take. We've been digging into insights from this really empowering series about self-mastery. We're calling it Life MotiVision, just for simplicity.
Yeah, MotiVision. Oh.
Yeah, it really captures its themes, practical wisdom, inspiring stories.
And what we found really is a kind of guide, a guide to facing these exact anxieties we're talking about. It offers practical motivation, sure, but also specific tools, things designed to help you break through that feeling of being stuck.
Tools to help you sort of reclaim control and really start building a more fulfilling life.
So our mission here in this deep dive is to unpack how this source material suggests you can do that, how you can master your thoughts, sharpen your focus, and really harness the strength of positive thinking.
Exactly. And the core belief running through all of it is that, true motivation, real inspiration, deep wisdom, it all starts when you learn how to pilot your own inner world.
Right. This isn't just about, feeling good for 5 minutes. It's about fundamentally changing your internal landscape so you can actually steer your life where you want it to go. Okay, so let's dig in, starting with those thoughts, those really persistent patterns.
Right. I mean, our brains are amazing, constantly processing, generating thoughts, but it often doesn't feel like we're the ones in charge of the factory, does it?
Not at all. It
Yeah.
feels like thoughts just happen to us. And that little voice, that whisper of negative self-talk, I can't do this, I'm not good enough, what if I mess it up? Sometimes that whisper just gets louder and louder until it's practically screaming. It can be deafening.
Yeah, absolutely. The source shares this really powerful personal story about that exact thing. There was a time when a dream, something really deeply cherished, felt completely impossible.
And the block wasn't external, right? It wasn't about money or lack of opportunity.
No, not at all. It was purely internal.
Yeah.
Their own mind had become the biggest obstacle, the biggest saboteur.
I really connected with that part. The idea of your mind constantly replaying this highlight reel of every past mistake and then projecting every possible future disaster. That internal story felt so real, it almost derailed everything for them.
And the turning point, as they describe it, was this big realization. These thoughts, no matter how loud or convincing they felt, they weren't actually facts. They were just suggestions, and often really unhelpful ones. Just recognizing that distinction was what allowed them to kind of step back and start reclaiming their power over that internal narrative.
Which connects really well to this concept. The source talks about something psychologists call automatic negative thoughts, or ANTs.
ANTs. That's such a great acronym, isn't it? Because they really do feel like they just crawl into your mind, uninvited. Little thoughts like, oh, this will never work, or why even bother trying?
And they can really poison your whole outlook without you even consciously realizing they're building up.
Definitely. So the question becomes, what does the source suggest we do about these ANTs? It actually talks about becoming an ANT exterminator.
Okay, an ANT exterminator sounds proactive. How does that actually work according to their guidance?
Well, it starts simply. The very first step is just awareness. Just noticing the thought when it pops up, but without judging it.
Just see it.
Just see it. Don't try to push it away right away. Just observe. Okay, there's that thought again. I'm not ready for this.
So you're not getting immediately swept away by the emotion of it.
Exactly. Then, the next crucial step the source emphasizes is questioning it. Challenge its validity. Ask yourself, hang on, is this thought really true? What's the actual evidence for it? Is there maybe another way to look at this situation?
So you're basically putting the thought on trial. not just accepting it as the gospel truth.
Precisely. You're becoming a detective about your own thoughts. And then finally, the source really encourages consciously replacing that unhelpful thought with one that's more empowering, more constructive.
That takes practice, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. It's not a one-time fix, but it's about actively choosing where you want to direct your focus, choosing the thought you want to cultivate instead.
It makes that garden analogy they use so clear. Your mind is a garden. Your thoughts are the seeds. You can grow flowers, or you can grow weeds.
Right. And the call to action isn't just about pulling the weeds, the ANTs.
It's about consciously planting the good seeds, the seeds of greatness, as they put it, and then actually nurturing them.
It really does put the power back in your hands. You are the gardener.
Okay, so once you start clearing out some of those ANTs, you might find you actually have more mental bandwidth, right? Which kind of leads us naturally into the next area the source covers: focus and clarity.
Focus. In today's world. Good luck.
Right. Does your attention just feel scattered sometimes, like your mind is being pulled in a million different directions at once?
It feels like the default state sometimes, doesn't it? And this lack of focus, it's not just annoying. The source points out it's a genuine thief. It steals your productivity, your peace of mind, and any real progress towards what you actually care about.
And it's not just a feeling, is it? The science seems to back this up. The source touches on how our brains, well, they aren't really built for constant multitasking, even though we try.
No, when we try to juggle 10 things mentally, we just dilute our effectiveness. Our mental energy gets spread way too thin.
Think about those moments. We've all had them. You sit down, determined to work on something important.
And boom, your mind is instantly somewhere else. Replaying some awkward conversation from yesterday, or worrying about your grocery list, or just gone. Blank. It's exhausting trying to force yourself back on track all the time.
It really is. So what practical tools does the source offer for this? It introduces something they call the focus anchor. What exactly is that?
The focus anchor is, it's a simple but actually quite powerful technique. It's drawn from practices that are specifically designed to train attention. The source describes it as picking something specific and neutral to rest your attention on.
Like what?
It could be anything, really. Maybe the physical sensation of your feet flat on the floor, or the gentle sound of your own breathing, or even just a specific uninteresting spot on the wall across the room. That's your anchor, your mental touchstone.
Okay, so you pick an anchor. Then how do you use it?
Well, the key is, when you notice your mind has wandered off, and it absolutely will, that's just what minds do, you gently, and this is important, without frustration or self-criticism, you just gently guide your attention back to your chosen anchor.
Okay. So it's not like forcefully yanking your mind back and getting mad at it.
Well, exactly. It's more like gently guiding a wandering puppy back onto the path. You wouldn't shout at the puppy, right? You just gently steer it.
That's a great analogy. Training with kindness and consistency.
Exactly. It's about training, not forcing.
Oh, yeah.
And the source also mentions other practical, everyday things you can do to strengthen that concentration muscle, like, committing to single tasking for short periods.
Turning off notifications, maybe?
Definitely. Minimizing distractions for set work blocks. Or even just deliberately practicing paying full attention during simple activities like washing dishes or brushing your teeth.
So it's less about having this superhuman willpower and more about building a new mental habit through that gentle, consistent practice.
Precisely. That puppy analogy really works. Your mind can be like that super enthusiastic puppy, tons of energy darting everywhere. Without any training, it's going to dig up your mental flower beds and chew on your important projects.
But with that gentle guidance, that consistent practice,
it becomes your most loyal, focused companion. It learns to stay where you guide it.
I love that. And the source offers such an insightful way of thinking about what focus even is. There's this quote I really like. Focus is not about keeping everything in your line of sight. It's about consciously keeping most things out so you can dedicate your energy to what truly matters.
That's a powerful reframe, isn't it? Focus isn't passive absorption, it's active conscious selection, deciding what not to pay attention to.
Which brings us nicely to the third big pillar the source explores, the power of positive thinking. Now, we need to be clear here because the source is very clear about this too.
Right. This isn't about naive optimism or sticking your head in the sand and pretending problems don't exist.
No, far from it. It's not about toxic positivity at all.
What's fascinating is how the source focuses on the idea that your dominant thought patterns, the thoughts you return to, most often don't just influence your mood, They actually seem to profoundly impact your brain chemistry, your physical health, even your overall experience of life.
And there's growing scientific research exploring that mind-body connection that seems to support this idea more and more.
Absolutely. So think about it. If you habitually find yourself dwelling on the worst-case scenarios, constantly bracing for problems, or just fighting this general sense of, I don't know, dread or pessimism.
That mental habit isn't just a gloomy outlook. The source explains it's actively draining your energy. And crucially, it can literally blind you to opportunities or solutions that might be sitting right there in front of you.
It's all about where you're directing that finite mental energy. Are you focusing it on the potential problem, or are you looking for the potential solution, the potential upside?
The source shares another really compelling personal story here. It involves facing a really significant career setback, a big one.
And they describe that initial wave of negativity just being completely overwhelming. Like, yep, this proves it, I'm a failure. It felt like confirmation of all their deepest fears about not being good enough.
That initial gut reaction is so relatable, isn't it? Failure can feel so personal, so definitive.
Totally. But here's where it gets interesting. They recount making a very conscious, very deliberate decision not to stay in that negative spiral, to actually apply what they knew about positive reframing.
So instead of just wallowing in the disaster,
They actually forced themselves to pause and ask different questions. Questions like, okay, this happened. What can I actually learn from this? Is there any opportunity hidden inside this apparent failure?
and they're quite clear, it wasn't like flipping a switch and suddenly everything was sunshine and roses.
No, not an instant fix at all. But that deliberate shift in perspective, that conscious choice to look for the lesson, to look for the potential opportunity, even when it felt counterintuitive, that was the lifeline.
That's what pulled them through, and ultimately it led them down a new path, maybe even a better one, that they wouldn't have even seen if they'd stayed stuck in the negativity.
It really highlights what positive thinking means in this context. It's a practice. It's about deliberate perspective, not just forced cheerfulness.
Exactly. As the source seems to define it, it's more like the profound wisdom to actively look for the light, even when you feel like you're in the darkest tunnel.
Yeah, to see the potential lesson in every challenge, and maybe most importantly, to cultivate this fundamental belief in your own ability to navigate whatever life throws your way.
The source even mentions a quick kind of in-the-moment tool for this. They call it the 5-second thought reversal. What's the idea there?
It's a technique designed to catch those negative thoughts right as they pop up, before they gather steam and pull you down. The principle is pretty simple. Within about 5 seconds of noticing a negative thought starting.
Like, oh, I'm going to fail this presentation.
Exactly. Within 5 seconds, you consciously interrupt it. You stop it in its tracks and immediately substitute it with a pre-planned, positive, or at least constructive thought. Something like, I've prepared well, and I can handle this.
So you don't let the negative thought loop and build momentum. You just cut it off quickly and redirect. Sounds small, but I can see how that could be powerful over time.
It is. It's about building that mental reflex. Not about suppressing the thought in an unhealthy way, but about consciously redirecting that mental energy towards something more helpful, more resourceful.
Okay, so let's sort of recap this deep dive into the source material. We've explored mastering our thought patterns by really getting practical about challenging those ANTs, those automatic negative thoughts.
Right, using awareness and questioning. Then we looked at sharpening our focus, bringing clarity and effectiveness back, using techniques like the focus anchor to gently train our attention.
Like that wandering puppy. And finally, embracing the transformative power of deliberate positive thinking, reframing challenges, looking for lessons, and reshaping our experience from the inside out.
And the key thing is, these aren't just, nice ideas discussed in the material. As we've seen with the examples and the techniques mentioned, they're presented as really actionable strategies, practical ways to build a more empowered life.
Concrete tools to tackle that feeling of being stuck or overwhelmed that we talked about right at the beginning.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the source doesn't just leave you hanging with the information. It actually offers a pretty clear call to action, suggesting something like a 7-day mind shift challenge.
The 7-day challenge. Okay, what does that involve?
It's actually really straightforward. The challenge is simply this. For the next 7 days, commit to consciously practicing one of the techniques we've talked about today. Just one.
Pick one thing. So maybe it's identifying and reframing, just say 3 negative thoughts each day using that questioning method we discussed.
Or maybe it's practicing your focus anchor for just 5 minutes whenever you notice your mind wandering during your workday.
Or maybe trying that 5-second thought reversal a few times when a worry pops up. Just pick one and commit for a week.
Commit to it, even if it feels a little awkward or forced at first. And then just observe. Notice any changes, however small they might seem initially. Because those small shifts, when you practice them consistently, they really do build incredible momentum over time.
It makes sense, because really the core takeaway from this source material seems to be this. Your mind is your greatest asset. Learn to master it, and you will master your life.
It's the foundational step, the starting point for breaking free from feeling stuck and actually building the kind of life you truly desire. It all starts right here, inside.
So here's a final thought to leave you with, something to maybe mull over, building on everything we've explored from the source. Given how much power our thoughts really hold the power to either build us up or hold us back, how much untapped potential is waiting for you right now, just on the other side of challenging one automatic negative thought today.